Yeah, there's a cross connection there. David Zukowski once worked for an Aaron Bosich, whose family I am very closely attached to. But my Uncle Dick brought home some chocolate-covered grasshoppers from Japan. I don't know where he got them. And I tried one. I was the pickiest eater in the world, but they were all going, "Oh, try it, Billy, try it," because I thought it would be hilariously funny. And it was literally one of these, I was maybe like 9. I bit into it and went, and they were all laughing. I don't even remember really tasting it. The horror of what I had just done dawned on me suddenly. And I just suddenly went into convulsive gagging. And they also had some chocolate-covered ants, as I recall. I did not try the chocolate-covered ants. But, that has led me to believe I would make a very bad hermit. Because it would take me a while to get hungry enough to be willing to eat that stuff.
Yeah.
There's that guy on the Science Channel, and you don't watch those channels, so you've probably never seen it. It's called Survivor Man. And he just they dump him in the wilderness for like 7 to 10 days. I think it is the old incarnation of his show was 7 days, and now he's amping it up a little. He's going for 10 days. Where he is literally, he doesn't have any camera crew. He has cameras himself. He has to he set up all the camera shots and if he wants a shot of him walking up this hill, he has to set up a camera, walk up the hill, and then come back and take the camera stuff down and then go back up the hill a second time. So just to get usable footage so that it looks good, he has to go through all kinds of contortions in addition to finding water, finding food. And he's been out like in the Australian outback. He's been in New Guinea, the jungles of New Guinea. He's been in the Amazon rainforest. He's been in Baffin Island up in the Arctic. He's been in some really harsh environments, and it's a very entertaining show. But I see what he has to go through. He's filtering mud, squeezing, and sometimes he'll find like a rotten fish on the shore, and he'll smell it and go, "Oh, I can eat this part. And then this part I'm going to use for bait." And then he'll say, "Well, I'd sure like to catch one of those seagulls." And he starts dreaming of food. One time he built his little shelter underneath a big log that had tipped over to protect him from the rain. I think this is up in the Colorado high country, I believe. And in the middle of the night, he had brought the fire in. It was so cold. He had brought the fire in. He makes his fire all from scratch, no match. Sometimes he'll give himself things that a survivor might normally have, like a book of matches with one match in it or something. Or sometimes he doesn't bring any matches at all. He just has to make a friction fire. And he knows all kinds of tricks about carrying hot sparks from one location to another. Wow. But this fire was brought in underneath this wood log where he actually set his shelter on fire. He woke up, and clearly he didn't have time to turn the camera on right away because he had to save his own life. But he turned the camera on eventually. He said, "Well, I'm just reporting here that I just set myself on fire." It's a very entertaining show, but I thought, man, if I knew, he knows in 7 days he's got like a GPS system. His producers are going to come getting him. They rescue him. And there was always a shot at the end of a helicopter coming in.
Is that how it always ends? Help! Help! Bring in a bucket of chicken. Help!
Pretty much. One time, he was so happy, he caught a big turtle. He said, "Oh boy, turtle stew." And he just kept talking about this poor turtle. I think it was a turtle. And, he slaughtered it and everything. And then it was time for him to go. And it's like, you just thought, well, this poor little turtle got killed. And he never even ate him. Maybe it was a turkey or something. It was like he hardly ever gets a lot to eat. But this time he got a lot to eat. He managed to trap something big like a turtle or a turkey or something. And it got completely wasted. And he thought, oh, that just That just means that it's like there's no point to that.
Well, I just thought about the whole premise of the show. So it's a weekly show?
He does series like 10 to 13 shows in one batch.
Oh, okay.
And he shows them weekly, but then they'll be like, he'll be off the air for like 6 months.
So like the whole, like seven episode story arc will be the same survival thing, not just one episode?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I was going to say, because that's an awful lot of surviving for 1 week. If it was just one episode each week was one of those...
Well, he's got a family and everything, but so clearly he's got an arrangement with his wife and kids where they don't mind not seeing him for long periods of time.
Well, if the money's good.
Yeah, it's a Science Channel, I think. But, one good episode was he was out in the ocean. It was adrift in a little boat. And I forget, but I'm trying to think if he ever... No, he was just on a boat, and he had a thing you could cover up, and he had a life raft. You could get out of the boat in case it capsized into this life raft as an auxiliary thing. It was almost like, have you seen that movie Life of Pi?
No.
Okay, it's an excellent movie, 3D movie, based on that book. About a boy. This is not a spoiler because it's the whole premise of the thing. He is adrift in the ocean in a big boat with a tiger. And he one of the things that help him survive is this life raft that he makes, where it's like he can get out of the boat and just let this little thing he made drag along behind, so the tiger has the full run of the boat and he can just kind of sit on this thing. That's sort of what Survivor Man did. He didn't even have a tiger. But there was one, I forget what they did. They were worried about him, though, because a big-ass storm suddenly came. They could see on the radar that a storm was coming in. I think they had to get him for a night, or they had to actually interrupt, then they put him back out again. Mm-hmm. But I like that. What I like about it is that he doesn't take... he's getting rescued. But there's always the possibility, like I was saying, what if somebody did that? He sets himself adrift, and then there's a nuclear war, and his producers and everybody, whoever knew he was out there, are killed. It's an atomic bomb, the world's in chaos. Nobody remembers that this show is being filmed, that people were paying attention to this guy. What if, their little station, their headquarters, the Science Channel, everything connected with it were just blown up. And he would be just out there like, hey, where's everybody? Hey, I'm run out of fish.
Well, it sounds like the first chapter or two to your science fiction novel.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Well, let's start writing it right now. Give me a keyboard. Chocolate-covered ants, chocolate-covered grasshoppers, being a hermit. That all came from talking about getting off the grid and living, completely with solar power, and you need millions of dollars to stake yourself to it. There's plenty of people living off the grid. They're called homeless people, and I don't think they're too happy about it.
I don't mean to laugh at it.
No, sorry, homeless people, really. But it's not. There's no easy solution. We're born into this universe, and this is the way it's set up. I'm always looking for a way to go to a different universe. I would always think, I would love to be the guy that just figure out how to kind of fold into another universe and live by a different set of rules. Because I'm sure there are much worse universes, because I'm a believer in the multiverse. But there's probably also lots of better universes. And I wouldn't mind checking out some of them. Problem is...
Well, with the provision that you can get back to this one if it turns out to be a worse one.
Yeah, definitely. I would like tie a rope or something.
Well, to what end? So that you would eventually relocate? or just to
Possibly.
escape to once in a while.
Well,
Well,
won't anything and everything, you know. That's an interesting point,
what
though.
about your family?
I'll bring them too.
Bring that. What if they didn't want to?
Well, then they at least know where I went. I tell them. That's like your family. And, of course, this, you know, then you run into all kinds of practical things like on the surface, unless they're completely convinced you've demonstrated to them that you can really do this, they're just going to think you're crazy. There is like a book, movie, I think it's a book and a movie called The Time Traveler's Wife about this. I think this is not, I guess this is a spoiler. I'm spoiling, I don't care. Don't listen. I think this woman marries a guy who just kind of disappears for periods of time, and he comes back, and his explanation is, I'm time traveling. That's what I do. And I can't prove it to you, but that's where I go. And I don't know what the final... I think you are left with the idea that maybe he does time travel. But it's never... I don't think it's supposed to be conclusive. It's one of those... I prefer more of a conclusive story where it's like, oh, he's really doing this. Now let's see what happens to him. Rather than, oh, this is mysterious. Oh, we never did find out what he's doing. That seems sort of like a cop-out. Mm-hmm. You can make a story up with that weak premise about anything. And say, no, there's Jerry here. His head turns into an owl, and we don't know why. And we're going to deal with all the problems that we have with Jerry turning his head into an owl. And, we never did find out why that happens to him. His head just turns into an owl. And it's like, well, fuck you. Tell me why his head turned into an owl. That's what I want to know first. Or at least that has to be the point. The plot has to be leaning towards the discovery, and then we discover.
Right, no matter how thin it is or unfeasible.
Yeah.
Did you happen to see somebody posted on Facebook? I think it was a picture that was taken during the Occupy movement when there were all these confused signs about what people were protesting for and what they actually wanted.
Uh-huh.
Somebody had a sign that said, "We want time travel." And below it said, "And we want it when?" And he put below it, "It's irrelevant."
That's a good line. That's a good line. It reminds me of a line off, and I don't want to, ruin how we doing on time there. It's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant. About 4 more.
4 more? Okay. It reminds me, and you'll have to go and buy my son Dan's CD, Tendrils of Ruin, by Dan Telfer. You can get it through iTunes, or you can buy it from astrecords.com. But I can't, I wouldn't, it's like one of his best jokes. That reminds me of it. I'll tell you when we're done with the recording. But I should just get you a copy of it. But it is one of the funniest things I ever heard. But it's very in that vein. That's all I'll say. But it's executed beautifully too. But the whole notion of time travel now, really, what they're discovering about these, always say time travel is impossible, blah, 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 impossible, paradox, blah, blah, blah. Now the sophisticated thing is, you may have very well read, well, let me take these pills. These are antibiotics I'm taking. Well,
pills.
I'm chirping now. Now I'm just taking my peyote buttons. Now we're going to get some real podcasting done.
We're going to hear a half hour of Bill making chicken sounds.
Yeah, he's scratching through the gravel. You can comment on my chicken-like behavior. I was saying something about time. Oh, the